third speaker started out as an architect and was involved in various affordable housing schemes where accessibility was a key consideration in his design approach. He then left the corporate life 4 years ago, and together with his wife Angela, they set up What a Waste, a social enterprise with a mission to reduce food waste while feeding the needy in a sustainable manner. To date, What a Waste has rescued over 4 million kilograms of surplus food from going to the landfills, preventing massive amount of greenhouse gases from entering our atmosphere, and fed thousands of marginalized communities and underprivileged families. Here to speak to us about saving the world one food at a time, please welcome Alvin Chen.
So research shows that at least 50 times, in a lifetime that we will use the phrase, what a waste, to express dismay, disappointment, or disgust in a lifetime. It's absolutely not true. I just made it up when I see a lot of yawning faces. Yeah, so I needed to make sure that all of us are focused, because what I'm about to share, it's a topic that is not very big, but it's huge because it's not just a Malaysian problem, it's a global problem. To put it into very good, better perspective is every 18 days, but now it's every 16 days. It's fair to say every 2 weeks. The amount of food that all of us are throwing, making its way to the landfills, can fill Petronas Twin Towers all the way to the brim. It's happening every 2 weeks. And I'm speaking in terms of avoidable, edible food waste. So we heard earlier today that a third of food produced globally is wasted. It gets lost along the way. So yeah, that was the reason why we left our professional life. We came to terms that nothing can be more important than the welfare of our environment. Backed by our professional backgrounds, we took the step forward. We took a leap of faith from architecture to being food waste warriors. That's what we call it at What a Waste. And we had a lot of resistance when we first started. Family members, loved ones, people who are close, our peers, they said that we are weird. It's a very weird decision. We weren't struggling in architecture, you see. If we aren't struggling, then we must be quite comfortable when doing what we did. But when we say to them is this, since when rescuing food is weirder than wasting food? And that's the message that I truly and really want to send forth to members of the public today. That's what we look like in our regular mission attire. In fact, this was the same t-shirt design that I've been wearing every day from morning till night for the last 3.5 years. This simply means that our battle, our fight against food waste, it's a daily mission. And while we fight food waste, we find that we were able to make use of these existing resources to eventually eradicate poverty, hunger, which is widely visible in the urban context here in Malaysia. And we ask ourselves, we identify what would be one of the biggest culprit to food waste. And we got to the bottom of it, weddings. Every week that I can testify, we have weddings. The Malaysian weddings are quite a unique one. Whether it's a Malay wedding, whether it's a Chinese wedding, Indian wedding, we are all equal in terms of the amount of food surplus that we generate. So we actually started this campaign called Saying I Do to the Environment. To the younger generation, they found this absolutely appealing because they are always in search of a unique wedding experience. So when we started this whole campaign 2.5 years ago, we suddenly found that our order books were filled to the brim. The requests for our food rescue services Every week, Saturdays and Sundays were filled to the brim. So what we do is that we rate wedding venues, we be part of the wedding, whatever food that we rescue, surplus food, good food that we recover through all these weddings, it will be immediately distributed to the nearest available underprivileged communities. Now, from these weddings, having done 268 plus weddings to this date, one of the mandatory SOPs is that we document down the food weight, both net and gross. These weights, when we revisit, when we do an audit, every year, we will then be able to quantify how much of a greenhouse gases that we have prevented from the atmosphere. Organic waste, if it makes its way to the landfills, it starts to degrade, it decomposes, it emits greenhouse gases. Carbon dioxide and the highly potent methane gas are among the biggest culprit. They are heat trap agents whenever it gets released into the atmosphere. Now, these are justifiable of our daily actions, why we are doing this. You see all these containers, single-use plastic, we concurrently fight against them. We plonked in collection points in petrol stations. We plonked them, collection points, in zero-waste shops in certain participating hotels, and we start to collect single-use plastic, food containers, food grades, and we reuse them. We give it a second, third, fourth life in our food rescue missions. From weddings, we went and eventually start to cater our services, our food rescue services, to corporate companies. On this note, I also want to congratulate Khazanah that in these 2 days, we have successfully fed at least 500 mouths from this event. That's the amount of food, surplus food, that has directly benefited the nearest available marginalized communities, be it the B40 communities, be it welfare homes, refugees, both documented, undocumented ones, street friends. These are our regular beneficiaries that we have actually passed on the good food that you, me, have had the chance to enjoy. Now, from ready-to-eat meals that we rescue, we went on to also rescue near-expiry perishable food. It could be aging vegetables, it could be aging fruits. Malaysians, we are always in pursuit for perfect-looking vegetables. There will never be perfect-looking vegetables. Anything that has spots, we do not purchase them. So this has also gave rise to potential food waste. So what we do in our daily rescue now, we also have a team. Now within the B40 communities, we actually filter and select single mothers who can cook. And we gave them these ingredients. Whatever and all sorts of ingredients that we rescue, we make these accessible to them for free. And we teach them. We commission them to repurpose all these ingredients into wholesome meal packs. And they get paid. They get a chance now to not just stand on their own feet, but they are able to stand tall. Every week on average, we handle about 2 tons of green vegetables. They either come from the wholesale market, they either come from direct from the farmers, they either come from the markets, the wet markets. They could also come from your household. So it makes its way to us. We have our food warriors, sort them out, and immediately bring it to the nearest available community, the underprivileged community, and we share it out. Apples, we have rescued in a single rescued 18 tons of apples. That's 380,000 apples in a single rescue. They're aging, they're not perfect looking, but we took time, we took effort to sort them out and immediately pass it on to various states That's the amount of apples that we had that is able to be rechanneled into even other states. And children, whether they are orphanage, homes, they directly benefited from it. Recently, we were tasked to handle at least 5 tons of peanut butter. We either outrightly scoop it all out from the drum. Per drum is about 250 kg, the sort of things that we will do at Waterways. We scoop them out, portion by portion, pass it out to the communities. We also, because we have cooks, we have very talented cooks that we have identified from the underprivileged communities, we pass the ingredients to them, and they could also bake it, and again, earn a living. COVID put a hard stop to all our activities, right? You can imagine. Pre-COVID were the days that we started weddings. COVID came, it put a hard stop. It humbled everyone across the world, and came the flood. We started this year experiencing one of the most bad and an unprecedented level of flood. Now, with this amount of food provisions that we have rescued, we were also able to mobilize our team into one of the worst affected flooded areas and actually set up our very first zero waste mobile kitchen, all using near expiry ingredients, nearing best before date. These were the sort of ingredients that we were using to actually repurpose and re-churn out into meals. And this was the same exact method that we were able to actually churn out and repurpose an average of 2,000 to 3,000 meal packs a day, every day, throughout the 2.5 years of COVID. And these provisions were sent throughout Kuala Lumpur and Selangor. That was what we were able to achieve using surplus food. And if that's not enough, we even went to the radius or red zone, and with all time and effort to actually apportion all these into individual veggie boxes, we went on and ensured that no families were left behind and that everyone had their fair share of food. This is one of our beneficiaries that also has become a driving factor to us and our team. I met this couple, 8 years, fellow Malaysian. They were staying in a makeshift cabin using the Waterways method. What started off as giving him food provision, we were then eventually able to transform his life using surplus food. Today, he cooks for Waterways and he gets paid and he earns a decent living through the platform. And now he has a proper shelter over his head, and now he represents Waterways to serve his local community. That's the sort of level of change that we want to bring upon the communities that we serve, that we have crossed paths with. These, towards the end of 2021, on daily basis, as I mentioned, we document down our activities. We have to date rescued about 3.2 million kg of food. Now, this directly translates to some 6.1 million kg of carbon dioxide that we have prevented. But more importantly, we have successfully prevented at least about 2,300 kg of methane gas, which is highly potent as a heat agent. And this is valued at a modest 40 million ringgit that we have successfully recovered and prevented from going to waste. And in the course of this, we have rescued at least 30,000 single-use plastic containers for the purposes of our missions, and it is easily weighed at about more than 8 tons. Now, that's the sort of impact that we are in pursuit. We don't pride about the families that we feed, but we absolutely pride and want to inspire that every little effort to stop food from going to the landfills is a worthwhile cause. Never underestimate even a single portion of food. A snack for you may be a meal for others. We have walked the talk. We have even deployed ourselves to even extract 2 portions of food, a single portion of food. And we have no regrets, and it's a worthwhile cause. Today, as we move forward, we are progressing waterways through technology. What may seem as labor-intensive when we first started, now with Waterways app, we directly link the thousands and thousands of our food beneficiaries direct to our food partners. So what happens is through Waterways app, they will be immediately notified for any surplus food, and they do a self-collection through a unique QR code granted to them. That would give them access, that would give them self-esteem. What started off 2 years ago, now as we enter our 3rd year, we have successfully established a sustainable food chain all the way from the source to the consumer. We now have managed to recruit within the Waterways family in our ecosystem the key people who constitute to the whole area of the whole paraphernalia of potential food waste. Now, this is what we have able to achieve. Moving forward, we want to scale it up. We want to invite more corporate companies to actually come on board, because the level, your role is so instrumental to actually send a strong and stern message to members of the Malaysian public and beyond that food waste, the war against food waste, is one where all of us should partake in. As I leave, I want to leave with a small note. This is not a food for thought. This is a food for consumption for all of us. This is also my driving factor. Throwing away food is an outright stealing from the tables of the poor. And there's every sense, every truth to this statement. Never neglect food, never waste food. Thank you very much.